The entire Wano arc was filled to the brim with amazing fight scenes considering the stupendous animation, so this list was very hard to compile. But even so, in my humble opinion, here are the top 10 fight scenes in the Wano arc. Zoro and Luffy versus Hawkins. After a long time of the two being apart, this was the first fight after Zoro and Luffy reunited in Wano. The reunion was short-lived, though, as Basil Hawkins, a member of the worst generation, attacks right after. Hawkins was always shown as a very strong fighter, and this was proven when he took on the strongest members of the Straw Hats. His straw fruit powers proved to be a genuine nuisance, as Hawkins could tank multiple killing blows with it. Not to mention the huge Susanoo-esque scarecrow summon he had. Although unluckily for him, Zoro had no problem pushing back the summon while defending Luffy and Tama. The best moment was when Zoro used his two-sword-style ripple to destroy the scarecrow, allowing the three to escape. Robin versus Black Maria. Although Robin isn't officially ranked amongst the strongest fighters of the crew, fans of the series know how nerfed she seems, even though her potential is undeniable. With Robin's first fight in a long while, the opponent being a Tobi Rappo, one of the 6 strongest Shinichi of the Beast's pirates, seems like an avid fit. The fight started off in an epic fashion with Sanji calling for help and Robin rising to the occasion. She used the power of the Hana Hana no Mai to full effect. Although admittedly, Brook had a big hand in the fight as well. Black Maria was an absolute beast with her imposing figure, especially putting some fear in all the arachnophobes here. She gave Robin a thorough beat down for most of the fight, especially at the point where she had Robin pinned. The fight looks great, as expected of the arc, but the highlight of the fight, even considering Robin's Susanoo-style use of her ability, was definitely when she transformed into a demon to overpower the Spider Lady. She became much, much larger than the huge Black Maria, and quite literally broke her in a most fearsome fashion, instilling fear in the hearts of the spectators, too. Zoro and Killer.
I can't pull.
What happens when the first mates of 2 captains of the worst generation fight off? Well, we were treated to this when Zoro and Killer fought head-to-head. Unfortunately for Zoro, the fight wasn't a complete one-on-one, as Gyukimaru distracted him in the middle of the fight, which resulted in him receiving a big wound to the shoulder. He was also nerfed during the time since Zoro only had 2 swords. But hey, the wound to his shoulder did more good than harm since Zoro got a 3rd weapon to use his 3-sword style. The moment Zoro puts the scythe in his mouth was by far the best scene in the entire fight. The choreography of the sword fighting between 2 master swordsmen was great to look at, but the way Zoro turned Killer's weapon against him was another level of power altogether. He took out the blade from his body before using it in tandem with his swords to perform a gorgeous purgatory onigiri to take out the deranged Killer in one fell swoop. The Red Scabbards versus Kaido. After a decades-long conquest for their country, the vassals of Odin finally face Kaido to get revenge for the fall of their leader. This fight was built up ever since the Wano arc started, and it was bound to be animated in a way that did justice to the emotions behind the fight. The samurai hit Kaido with one great attack after the other. Even Kaido was surprised that attacks that were nothing like Odin's could cut him. Kaido took a considerable amount of damage during the entire fight, but Kaido was stronger than even these great samurai. Even attacking at the same time didn't stop Kaido. After pushing everyone back, Kaido hit Kinemon hard enough to make him black out for a bit. The coolest part of the fight was when Kaido stopped playing around and destroyed the entirety of the area, even knocking Nekomamushi and Inuarashi out of their Sulong forms before bring about his signature thunder to knock everyone but Kinemon out. Sanji vs. Queen. Facing the second-in-command of the series, Queen, Sanji displays the full extent of his newly unlocked abilities. He proves that even without his family's raid suit, he can still stand against the top-tier fighters in the world of One Piece. Although the fight initially started off with Sanji and Zoro versus King and Queen, the two quickly made the fights into 1-versus-1s. Queen was definitely one of the most versatile fighters in the Beast Pirates crew, considering his cyborg abilities from becoming a missile launcher to a dinosaur crane to something akin to Mechagodzilla. It was during this fight that Sanji realized that he now has a relatively indestructible body, even fixing broken limbs. After giving Zoro a heads up on killing him in case he loses it, Sanji starts the beat down with his flaming kicks. Queen himself had some pretty amazing moves, even turning invisible to launch a sneak attack, only to get countered by Sanji's speed. The Ifrit Jambe was by far the best scene in the entire fight, both a treat for the eyes and badass to boot. Sanji turned an overgrown dinosaur into a football. Those blue flames were gorgeously animated. Luffy vs. Kaido. The encounter we were all waiting for, when Luffy finally faces off against Kaido. Well, this was the first time he did so, and of course fans of the series knew that Kaido was much stronger than Luffy in his current state. Even though Luffy was bashed around a fair bit with Kaido's dragon form, he did still put up a great fight, even blocking Kaido head-on with Gear 3rd. Luffy had to bring out the big guns with an elephant gatling, and it was so satisfying to watch the big dragon get bashed in the face. Although it may have looked like Luffy was finally gaining an upper hand, all it truly did was knock Kaido out of his stupor. Kaido blew Luffy away with his breath before turning the tables. Luffy rushed back towards him, using one big attack after another only for Kaido to tank them all. Kaido turned back into his human form, and Luffy transformed into Gear 4th to take on the beast. But by far the best scene was when Kaido used a single Thunder Bagua to knock out our protagonist. Gol D. Roger versus Whitebeard. Another flashback scene during the Wano Arc was when Oden was traveling with Whitebeard. On a certain day, the Whitebeard crew, back when he was at his prime, went to an island. Here they ended up meeting the king of the pirates, Gol D. Roger. Two emperors of the sea meeting was bound to result in an amazing fight as we saw Gol D. Roger fight for the first time. One divine impact from him was enough to send the extremely strong Oden flying, but right after, Whitebeard attacks, and the impact of the Pirate King and Whitebeard's haki shook the entire island. The two strongest crews, the Roger Pirates and the Whitebeard Pirates, fought for 3 days and nights until they finally ended it with a gift exchange and drinks. The fight definitely captures the essence of One Piece, with the best scene being when the two strongest clashed head-on. And somehow, Oden was sent to the Roger Pirates for a year after the Pirate King literally begged for him. Well, Oden basically didn't want the two to start fighting again, the poor lad. Oden vs. Kaido. A flashback in the Wano Arc, when Kozuki Oden faced off against the Dragon Emperor Kaido. By this time, Kaido had already displayed why he's called the strongest creature in the world, but Oden gave him a fight he wouldn't soon forget. Even though Oden hadn't trained for years, stuck dancing like an idiot to protect his people, he still proved that true power doesn't diminish so easily. The entire fight was a stunning display of colors and attacks, as the two fought one-on-one. Kaido had to go all out against Oden as the two fought over the land of Wano. The two supreme color wielders were on equal grounds during the fight, but the highlight was when Oden used his two sword styles, the Paradise Totsuka, to power through Kaido's flames and pierce Kaido's body, leaving a permanent scar on his chest. Even though Oden seemed to have an upper hand, the reason for his downfall ended up being a trick. Mid-fight, Oden was distracted by the powers of a clone fruit. He saw Momonosuke being held hostage and went to rescue him, only to find that it was just one of Orochi's minions disguised using the clone fruit. Kaido knocked Oden out during this moment, resulting in his defeat. Zoro Fef's King. An absolute gem of a fight with amazing visuals overall. With Zoro fighting the overpowered king, Kaido's right-hand man as Luffy's first mate, we were bound to see a feast for the eyes. Although the entirety of the fight is gorgeous, the best scene overall was most definitely the part where Zoro slashed King's mask off, revealing his ancestry for the first time in the series, a part of the legendary. With Zoro's life on the betting table due to his own sword, Zoro intends to end the fight as soon as possible. The two kings go head-to-head once more, with Zoro having figured out how King's flames work. King's flame attacks themselves are absolutely gorgeous to watch, taking the shake of dragons, and the entire fight constantly has you on edge. The surroundings are decimated by their final head-on clash, and the one whose dream comes out on top is Zoro's, with the finisher being 103 mercies, Dragon Damnation. The new king of hell is the victor, the worst generation, V's. Big Mom and Kaido, when two emperors of the sea fight off against the worst generation of pirates, an epic fight scene was sure to be born of it. Kaido and Big Mom are absolute behemoths, and the aura they give off is nothing to scoff at. Kaido and Luffy's hockey clash was definitely a super badass moment, and him gaining the upper hand for a bit using Gear 4th. Although it's true that the worst generation are definitely outclassed, but at one point, Kaido felt the power of Odin in Zoro's blade. Summoning a dragon from the blade, Zoro used a dragon twister with Odin's sword to cut the indestructible dragon, only to enrage him even more. The fight made Kaido bring out his hybrid form. Luffy asked Zoro to give him a minute, leaving him, Killer, Kid, and Trafalgar to face both Kaido and Big Mom at the same time. The two were too powerful, though, and knocked around the worst generation. The highlight of the entire fight was when Kaido and Big both did a dual attack called the Conquest of the Sea. Zoro was the one who stepped up and blocked the devastating attack, protecting the worst generation from being wiped out completely, giving them a shot at turning the tables and separating the two emperors. The second most amazing scene was when Zoro brought out Asura after a very, very long time to keep Kaido occupied, facing him one-on-one and giving him another devastating cut, with even Kaido acknowledging that it would leave a scar. Honorable mentions Law and Trafalgar. 5's Big Mom.
死にかけなら使うが体力の勝負シャンブルズどこクラ行くしかねえだろ
After the two emperors were separated by the worst generation, the two had to be fought individually. With Luffy taking on Kaido, Trafalgar and Kid were signed up with Big Mom. With Trafalgar being a master strategist and Kid using his metal attacks, the two stood their ground against the monster, but only for a time. During the fight, when Trafalgar and Kid were against the wall, Kid asked him whether his power had awakened yet or not. Kid brings out the big guns with Punk Rotten, an extremely metal-looking attack to distract Big Mom. She destroyed his attack pretty fast, but gave Trafalgar enough time to hit Big Mom with an anesthesia shot, doing true damage to the Emperor. Kaido Phase, Big Mom. Another great entry to this list was when Big Mom was chained up and brought to Kaido, reuniting the ex-team members. After Kaido orders to have her uncuffed, Big Mom summons her blade and the two emperors clash. The strength of their attack causes the clouds to split and thunder to come crashing down on the island. The two shift outside and continue bashing their weapons, with Big Mom even getting a punch on the beast's emperor. The entire fight keeps you on the edge, and we witness how strong two emperors can be, even when they aren't fighting at full power.